Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Fox98 here, and welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel. Today we're here with my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, part number 4 of Season 2 for the Chinese Grand Prix. And if you end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, as we try and make our way towards 20,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. I just want to say a massive thank you for all the love and support that seems to be increasing with my F1 2020 My Team videos, as the last previous 3 videos now have eclipsed pretty much every other My Team video, so big shout out to you guys for helping out on that front. Having a look then as we come towards the Chinese Grand Prix, annoyingly my chassis weight reduction upgrade actually failed, which meant that I'm going to have to put that onto the car, and it's going to come now for the Dutch Grand Prix, which is okay because, you know, there's a lot of corners around the high-speed Zandvoort circuit, so it should come into its own. We also went ahead and did a build time upgrade, I believe, on the chassis in the facility section, and we're going to do yet another build time upgrade, but this time for the durability, because we haven't actually done one yet. It's only 1.5 mil, and we need to get it on because we need to start focusing on the durability a lot more, and I need to make sure those upgrades can come on nice and quickly, so I'm not wasting too much time on that front. So as you can see then, we finished practice, and we're going over now, and we're going to be making our final performance upgrade before I go ahead then and refocus on the durability side of it. So in terms of the powertrain, we're second fastest. Chassis weight reduction, we're about, you know, sort of in the middle. Durability, we are bottom. And then the aero, we're the 4th fastest car. So by the time the chassis upgrades come on, we'll have a lot more performance. But what I am going to do quickly, though, is I'm going to try out my very first upgrade, which is going to be rushed. So a rush upgrade means that it'll come onto the car quicker, but it's got a higher percentage of failing. So it's a bit of a risk-reward situation. So I thought, hey ho, let's give it a go and see if we can actually make it work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, you know, just worth a little bit of a try there. And it is what it is. But from then on in, I'm going to be looking at upgrading the durability. Most importantly, the gearbox. Because the gearbox, unfortunately, here at the Chinese Grand Prix, it's going to be the last time I'm going to be able to use it. Because it has already got into the heavily worn stage where we're going to be having gearbox problems. So we'll have to see if it can hold out in the race, but it's already getting to that very bad stage. So we definitely need to get the gearbox upgrades on, and especially the ICE. They're the 2 components that are wearing most on my car. The rest is actually fine. So as we go through towards the end of Q1 then, the track conditions actually got worse and went to the intermediate conditions, which meant that our original lap of a 1:30.0 was good enough to get me through into Q2, along with my teammate Sergio Perez, who qualified in P7 there, as we're down in P9. But one man that got caught out by that wet weather is Max Verstappen, who was 2.8 seconds off of pole position, and my rival is going to be starting at the back of the grid, which is a dreadful qualifying session for him, but it is what it is. There's nothing that I can do about that, apart from laugh. But now as we go in towards Q2 here, Lewis Hamilton sets the fast lap time of the session so far. But as we come towards the last corner now, we're going to set our first lap of the session, run a little bit wide on the exit there, as we're trying to understand the track conditions a bit more. And we go 0.6 of a second shy of Lewis Hamilton. Now I carried on to try and set another lap to improve. Unfortunately, I got held up by some traffic, and as I tried to push a little bit hard here on the exit, the back end just came out on me. We had a huge spin there, but luckily it was only enough to break the front wing and not DNF us from qualifying. So a really lucky escape there to not have a significant crash there, apart from the fact we just lost our front wing. But what was lucky for us is that also when we were on that second flying lap, the track conditions were changing again and the full wet tyres were needed, which did of course catch up my teammate Perez, who went out late, and Daniel Ricciardo, who went out so late that he actually had to put on the wet tyres, and it was a complete waste of time for him. Now as we go towards Q3 here, we set our initial banker lap, which was so-so, but this next lap here is actually going very nicely. As you can see now, in towards this final corner now, as we're coming towards the start-finish line here, breaking down in towards 4th gear, taking it nice and easy through the last corner, now making the blast up towards the start-finish line. It's a 1:42.4, my best lap of the qualifying session, and it's actually good enough for P2 on the grid, so a front row start here in the wet conditions. The car in Q3 especially worked an absolute treat, and to my shock, I was only 8/100ths of a second off of Valtteri Bottas's pole time. It clearly went to show that in the dry, I couldn't really get near them. In the wet, though, in qualifying, it rocketed me all the way up the grid, and Hamilton starting a long way back down as well there. But looking then at the rivalry breakdown between myself and Verstappen, that's now 15-18 in Verstappen's favour, so he still leads that rivalry, but it is quite close. In terms of team acclaim, we are going to move up to level 17 by the end of this. Both myself and Perez are on driver acclaim 13. And as you can see, up to 17 we go, and as you can see, that is us done and dusted for that section. But as we have a look at the grid then, so obviously we're going to get that front row lockout, which is absolutely insane. Not a lockout, sorry, a front row start behind Valtteri Bottas, which is really, really good for us, because one thing that I seem to have as one of my biggest strengths on F1 2020 is race start. So if we can get the race start right, we'll be in with a great shout of working through on this Grand Prix. But the crucial thing is that it is going to be a dry race, which does mean that the performance may actually be slightly more hampering for myself, because I wasn't quite as quick in the dry. But we just need to make the most of where we are starting. Verstappen there, not going to be starting last because Latifi takes a 10th place grid penalty, and so does Esteban Ocon in that segment that we saw there. So, starting on the front row, we've got ourselves freedom of tyre choice, and we're going to be starting on the medium compound tyres, going to a set of the hards, no point in using the softs, they just don't last long. So here we go then, on the grid now, we've got 5 red lights. This race start is absolutely crucial as we get going right now then, so it's time for the Chinese Grand Prix. Let's see how we get off the line. Do we get Bottas off the start line? We do get Bottas off the start there, and into the first corner, we lead the Chinese Grand Prix instantaneously, with Bottas in second and Sebastian Vettel coming into third place with Leclerc in fourth. And then Sainz, I believe that is, in 5th place now as Leclerc tries to come back at his teammate Sebastian Vettel now. But as we go through then and towards the end of the first sector, that is the perfect start to this Chinese Grand Prix. And now we have got full control of this race. But Vettel now is under attack from his teammate Leclerc. So in towards the end of the first sector they go. Also Albon there pressurizing Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes. But Hamilton gets away from that as we get a yellow flag in the background. Probably because they're slowing down so quickly as Leclerc there does manage to hold off Vettel. And he takes 3rd place in the Grand Prix. But for us, we are in front of Bottas and we have the lead, and like I said, we've now got control of this Chinese Grand Prix, and as you can see now, on to lap 2 of the Grand Prix here. We've obviously just set the fastest first sector of the race so far, because of course we're on lap 2, so what do you expect? As we pressed onwards now, you can see here that we're going through towards this middle sector. Actually downshift into 6th gear here. That was the wrong call to do. I thought I might have to downshift. It actually compromised my line ever so slightly. Put grass onto the tyres. Here comes Bottas to the outside, but Bottas makes a little bit of contact with the car there, offering some space on the outside, but we just about hold off from the Mercedes man. But on the run now, up towards the banked corner, this is where Bottas is very, very quick on exit, and now as we go on through, we survive a little bit of a scare there, realising that I don't need to go to downshift into 6th. I can hold it in 7th, but crucially, where I am absolutely rapid is the exit this banked corner. Remember that gap that was a 10th of a second? Make that about 6/10ths of a second now. And as we go on to the end of the straight here, my straight line speed was very, very quick, and I was able to hold off the Mercedes quite easily as we skip to lap 6 now, and Bottas once again 2/10ths of a second behind us. We make our way towards the banked corner. Bottas might just be in range here to have a little look, but as we go in towards the banked corner, once again we're staying in front of Valtteri. But what is very, very difficult for me so far in this Grand Prix is that I cannot get out of DRS range. No matter how good the straight line speed is of the car, I'm not able to pull away and build a gap. That is costing me very badly in this Grand Prix. As we now go onto the straight once again, you can see Bottas closing up very slightly, but you can just see that the straight line speed that we've got in the car is just helping a treat. We go in towards the hairpin, and once again, you're not getting past me. Lap 13 of the Grand Prix. Remember that gap that was 4/10ths of a second from the first lap? There, that didn't change. For the entirety of the 13 laps, it's been less than a second, the gap to myself and Bottas. Really, really tough there as we go a bit wide on the entry towards the pits. But what's worrying for me is that both Valtteri Bottas and Charles Leclerc are going to carry on for another lap. Now, we're going on to the hard compound tyres, which might actually hamper us in some form of effect, because the hard tyres, especially when they're cold, they're not exactly the greatest tyre. You've got to get them up to temperature before you can really start to exploit the pace of it. And for us on these tyres, it's going to be quite balanced between those medium compound tyres. So let's see what happens then. Coming out of the pits now, my teammate Perez is going to get past us here, and he's now into 7th place. Of course, my teammate is actually being held up by the Alfa Romeos, who have got more straight line speed than what Perez is running. So I'm clearly running with a setup favouring the straight line speed, whereas Sergio Perez is running a more balanced type of setup, and it's not really helping him out in the way that he probably would have wanted to. But crucially, what's not helping me out now is I need to pass Perez. I get very close then to damaging the front wing of my car. Crucially, no damage was taken there as I was trying to scrap with my teammates. But of course, the thing that's worrying me the most is still we're getting held up by our teammate here. We're in a fight now with the front runners to make sure that we can rejoin in front of them. And by Perez being in front like he is, I just can't quite get close enough. Getting a bit distracted by the dirty air of my teammate, and I really wish there was a button which said team orders, because I'd rather use it right now. I am the leader of this team. Get out of my way, Sergio, right now. And as you can see here, in towards the bank corner, I actually got very impatient here, and I just went for it down inside the banked corner. Probably actually not the best idea there, because now I'm not going to utilize the full DRS and slipstream that I would have got if I'd actually done it the other way around. I still get DRS here, but you can see Perez will get to close up ever so slightly there. So that was just me pretty much being enraged and just so desperate to pass Sergio Perez, but crucially, we have now passed him. Now, the thing is Bottas and Vettel are both in the pits. In fact, they're both exiting the pits as we speak. You can see them on the mini-map there. So this is now a straight blast now down towards turn 1 to see if we can get in front of Valtteri Bottas. This is going to be very, very close now. There is Valtteri Bottas in towards the first corner. We'll have to go around the outside here to hold position against Bottas. Gets super close to the Mercedes-Benz car, but we can just swoop around the outside, and we just about get in front of Valtteri and stay in front in this Chinese Grand Prix. That was really, really close. And that was a critical phase of the Grand Prix, because guess what? That gap still hasn't gone over 1 second in this Grand Prix. But now, here comes Valtteri Bottas here. He's going to have the DRS, and this time around, looks like he's going to be using a little bit more engine modes, actually, than he has done on previous laps. Here he comes now, then. The proximity arrow goes very, very wide. He goes for it now, down the inside on ourselves here, but we just about have to defend that. Around the outside, once again, get the better exit than Bottas, but that is our first warning sign that Valtteri is coming for the attack now, and he's coming for my race victory, and I kind of want it, you know, but at this stage of the race, I just can't get out the 1 second window. That Mercedes-Benz is genuinely a much quicker race car than myself here today. But if you can't pass me, then I'm sorry, I'm in front of you. Come past me. But this is a bad exit there through the back corner there. Got a horrible bit of back end oversteer on the exit. Now Bottas here is in prime range to go for the attack now. We'll have to use all of our ERS down the straight here. Rich mixture enable. Bottas is going to be using the same though. ERS and probably rich mixture and the DRS coming into play as he gets through. But he locks up the front tyre there in towards the hairpin corner. We can brake early into the corner and let the car roll in. And that just allows Bottas to close his line off. And that gives us P1 back in this Chinese Grand Prix as we go a little bit wide on the exit there. And I decided to just rejoin very, very safely there. Bottas now 0.3 of a second back going in towards the first corner. Once again, he's using more ERS and battery. So I'm going to have to cover the inside of turn 1, but I'm going to have to make sure he can't switch back, make sure that I don't brake too late, that Bottas can tuck in underneath me, and he doesn't do that. So we crucially get turn 1's defense absolutely spot on there, and we stay in front of him for the time being. But now Vettel and Leclerc are coming onto the back of us very, very quickly as my little choo-choo train gets ever larger. Lap 26 of the Grand Prix now, and once again we are trying to defend against the Mercedes car, who is still less than a second back. We've got a yellow flag though down in the middle sector for one of the Haas cars now, so someone's had a bit of an issue, and it's George Russell then who's out of the session. I swear George Russell retired in Bahrain. I swear he's had like 3 DNS now already in the first 4 races. That Haas car is extremely unreliable, and it's an engine failure actually that cost George Russell there. So really, really bad stuff. But after I'd actually got the replay cam for that, Bottas has come back at me straight again now. So he's trying it in a different area of the circuit, but we've got the inside line and we can just take our line as per usual. And I tried very hard to make Vettel fight with Bottas again, just to give myself that little bit of breathing room that I need just to get my car back into its working range again. We're low on fuel. We've got very, very worn gearbox right now. It could literally fail at any point in this Grand Prix. I don't think I show it, but it's gone way past 70% at this race, as now we also got to worry about the fuel mixture as well, which at the moment we don't have enough fuel to get to the end of the race. Fantastic. But now, as you can see, we've got more things to focus on, and that is that Mercedes that is still right there. A little bit of a scruffy entry into that corner, but we get it okay. Bit of a slide down the back corner. That's really not going to help us. That's a horrible way to get through the bank corner. Lots of oversteer as the rear tyres start to go off now. Rich mixture and ERS going to be enabled here. Bottas will do the same once again. It's another drag down the straight line. This time Bottas pretty much has the line covered, and as we go in towards the hairpin, we're still going to brake late this time. This time around, I've actually got to brake it into first gear to allow the car to pretty much stop, because I don't think it was going to. Now Vettel's going to go up Bottas, which is exactly what I wanted. Into the last corner now. We can fend off against Valtteri once more, and I've got to put that car into lean fuel mixture because I really need to get to the end. I thought it was going to show my gearbox wear percentage. Here they're coming to the front runners now as they're putting up the power to the maximum here. I'm not really doing that, but Bottas then tries to sneak underneath me here, but we're going to take our normal racing line through here. Bottas, I have to give him a bit of room though, because his front wing is still there, but Bottas can't sneak through on the inside of us there. We hold position for the time being, and we'll activate the ERS and blast off into the distance and onto the final lap now of the Chinese Grand Prix. We have done a lot of defending in this second stint. In the first stint on the medium compound tyres, we were able to defend quite easily versus Valtteri Bottas, but on these hard tyres, that Mercedes has come at me very, very hard. But in towards the last corner now, I've saved up my ERS, so I can just absolutely blast it down the straight. No chance Bottas is going to catch me in a straight line. And now as we go in towards the final portion of the lap now, you can see here as we brake in towards the last corner now, we got it all done at the start. That was the crucial stage of this race, and we're going to win the Chinese Grand Prix thanks to the start of the race. That is the only reason that we come home with the winner's trophy here at Shanghai. Ocon gets driver of the day, so big up Ocon. It's probably because he wiped out Verstappen and all the Frenchies were happy about it or something along those lines, I would have thought. But what was the crucial point, as I said before, is that our grid position was very kind to us, is what we can say about that. We were propelled up the order due to the fact that we had a wet qualifying. If we had a dry quali, we probably would have qualified around the P9 to P7 range. In the dry, as soon as the lights went out, we got a better start than Bottas. We jumped him, and then from then on in, I tell you, truthfully, the gap between myself and Bottas did not go over 1 second that entire race. So as much as I was in front for pretty much the whole thing, apart from when I made my pit stop and wasn't in the lead for one lap, I had to concentrate so hard because Bottas was right behind me and did not give me an inch to breathe. And it was very clear to see that in the dry, the performance in our car was no match for them. But because we had the pace where we really needed it, e.g. the straights, we were fine. You can see it there. The top 7 separated by just 3.2 seconds. Such was my defensive driving there. Sergio Perez, unfortunately, a really rough race for him. He started in P14 and he only finished in P14. He got stuck behind both Alfa Romeos for pretty much the whole race. He eventually passed them, but he couldn't do anything else from there. So tough luck for Sergio Perez in that Grand Prix after a double points finish from him today. Looking at the Drivers' Championship then, we actually extend our lead to 27 points in the championship. That's kind of a bit half-hearted. I don't really take that seriously. Hamilton, of course, had this crash in Bahrain. We got very, very fortunate in this Grand Prix with the wet weather qualifying. We've just had a lucky start, and somehow we still lead the Constructors' Championship despite only me scoring points here today. But it is what it is. So the Force Korean lead carries on for a little bit longer, but how much longer, I don't really know. But in terms of our expectations, of course, it's just about having a great car. That's what we've got. In terms of the luck that she's talking about, she actually is completely spot on with that. We've had a very lucky first 4 rounds to be where we are, where we've picked up 2 race victories and 3 out of 4 podiums. So for me, I think, we've had a very, very fortunate start. Australia, we got the strategy bang on. In Bahrain, we were just flat out brilliant. In Vietnam, we definitely struggled, but we made up for it. And then here today, we were quick in the wet and got that grid position that we crucially wanted, got the race start, and was just controlling the Grand Prix. I am literally the definition of a control centre. You know, when you see, unfortunately as well, I didn't get the 100 laps during the race weekend. We only got 87, which sucks, but it's still 800k in the bank. And I took damage deductions. Again, Sergio Perez just taking no damage deductions. So this man literally knows how to caress a car. Up to 3 million now, which is brilliant for us, which does mean, of course, when it comes to signing Perez again by the end of round 8 or round 9, I think it is, we're okay. So the plan basically is get myself back over 10 million and then make sure that I don't go under that. And as you can see, we are on worn components, so we're going to show that, I think, in the end of this episode, because, of course, we do not have a very good gearbox right now. And we're going to start things off with a team building exercise, and then we're going to go ahead and do some other things. Don't really know what I do. I think I do a second driver PR filming. That's exactly what I do. And then I'm going to quickly showcase over to the R&D tree, where I thought I had enough to do the gearbox upgrade. I don't, so I need a little bit more, which I'll do at the end of this, the end of the next episode, hopefully. But if you guys have enjoyed today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. Once again, trying to get to ourselves towards 20,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of the year. And that would be absolutely amazing. And it does mean, of course, then, for the next Grand Prix, we do have to take a gearbox penalty because, of course, we do not have the greatest of gearboxes. Last upgrade, then, durability-wise for the resources, just for the quality control, just to stop it failing as much to allow us a more smoother run purchasing those parts. But for now, guys, I'm out. Take care all. Peace.